Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's episode of Catholic in the Wild. And I want to focus on the topic of virtuous friendships. And the reason I want to talk about this topic is that just a couple days ago, when I was planning out this episode, I decided to text a college friend of mine named Anthony because I haven't talked to him in a few months. And what was really cool is that after I texted him, just simply just saying, "Hey, how you doing? Hope to catch up soon. Hope all is well." And he actually called me, and then we got to talk for about a full 30 minutes, which usually not on the phone for that long. But it was just a blessing to be able to cherish this moment of reconnecting with a friend that I haven't seen in a while, but also haven't heard from for a few months. And it made me think of how it is very important to have these friendships, these virtuous friendships in life. Because with my friend Anthony, who I spoke to a couple of days ago, he was a friend that helped me come back to the Catholic faith. He was actually one that introduced me to the Latin Mass. And I cherished that because that helped me appreciate and strengthen my Catholic faith. So in today's video, I want to focus on three specific friendships and identifying them, which are actually what Aristotle talks about in his book Nicomachean Ethics, in his writings regarding friendships, virtue, perfect happiness. And these three friendships you may have heard before, but I'm going to talk about them today. So these friendships are identified as the friendship of utility, the friendship of pleasure, and the friendship of the good. So the first one, which is the friendship of utility, is a friendship that is established by one common factor that brings two people together. This example can be seen of this common factor being school, where you and another person become friends due to sharing the same class together or in the same grade. Another common factor can be work, where you and someone else become friends because you work for the same company. And another one could be with church, where you and your friend go to the same parish, and that's how you've met and became friends. The second one, which is the friendship of pleasure, is that two people are brought together by some emotional appeal, whether it be that both these people that became friends, find humor in one another, find enjoyment or happiness in one another. There's something that leads to satisfaction within this connection between these two people within this friendship. And the last one, which is the friendship of the good, also known as friendship of virtue, is where this friendship is established due to seeking the betterment of the other person. And it kind of takes into friendships of utility and pleasure, but I would say this is the completion of both of those. And the reason why it's completion is that within Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, he shows how the friendships of utility and pleasure are short-term friendships and how the friendship of the good is a long-term friendship. So the reason why friendships of utility and pleasure are short-term is because this common factor or emotional appeal that's holding this friendship together, if that begins to fade away, then this friendship can begin to fade apart, start to separate or not be apparent anymore, this friendship. So like the example with friendship of utility, where that common factor, whether it be work or that job or school, if that begins to fade away, then that friendship starts to fade away as well. So saying if you went to a different school and there was a friend that stayed at that previous school and you went to a different one, you're not in the same class anymore, you're not taking that time to hang out with that person anymore, it begins to, not be present as much anymore. Or with the friendship of pleasure, where that emotional appeal, that satisfaction that you receive from that one friend, whether maybe it be humor or whether it be happiness, where if that maybe begins to fade, whether it be due to maturing or just like you could see maybe one friend you were hanging out with that was funny and maybe not be humorous anymore, that can begin to fade because that emotional appeal is no longer present. But the friendship of the good, why that is long term, is that it remains no matter the changes in life. So no matter if you go to a different school or you start a different job or you go to a different parish, that friendship remains because it's always seeking the betterment of the other person, and how that seeking of the betterment of the other person also helps you grow as well, helps you grow in virtue. So those are the three types of friendships that Aristotle talks about, and how to not only remain in the friendships of utility and the friendships of pleasure, that we should be striving for a friendship of the good, friendships of virtue. And the reason this is so important is because within the advancement of technology and communication, especially through social media and, Zoom and other ways of communication, of instant communication. Um, Sometimes these friendships may not move past the screen, especially with social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, not really Facebook as much, but mainly like, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, where people may be communicating all the time back and forth on those platforms, but it doesn't move past the screen. And while someone may have a lot of friends or a lot of followers, there may still be this feeling of loneliness or isolation and no satisfaction because these friendships aren't going anywhere except just staying on your phone or on your computer. And I remember feeling this way too during COVID when everyone had to go home and to pretty much be isolated from everyone. And the only ways of people being able to communicate is through social media and through Zoom, which was really popular during COVID. And with the ministry that I was part of during COVID, we would have our weekly meetings on Zoom because everyone had to stay home. No one could come to campus. They pretty much shut down the school grounds because of everything that was going on with COVID. And while we still had these meetings, I was still able to see and talk to my friends. It's not as intimate, you can say, where everyone's faces are on the screens. And while maybe you want to try to talk to one person, it interrupts someone else entirely. So it wasn't as fulfilling versus being physically present with someone, where you're taking the time to be with someone in person and getting to know them and helping this person grow and them helping you grow as well. So the challenge I want to present for you, anyone watching this video, for those that are taking the time to listen to this, is to reconnect with someone you haven't spoken to in a while. For me, that was my friend Anthony, who I reached out to a couple days ago. This may be also someone maybe you went to school with or were part of a club with, or maybe you worked at a company with this person. Someone that you were good friends with and maybe haven't reached out to in a while, but maybe start with by shooting them a text and giving them a call, but not stopping there and moving past the screen and maybe going to meet for lunch or maybe going on a hike. Taking this time to rebuild this friendship and to help one another grow in virtue. One verse I want to conclude this video with is Proverbs 27:17. And this verse I always tell it to my students whenever they may be in an argument with their friends, or maybe they're playing a game outside for recess or during gym and they're really getting intense with each other, with their teammates, maybe because they're not doing the best. And I always tell them, guys, you need to remember Proverbs 27:17, which states, "Iron sharpens iron, so as one man sharpens another." And it's important how with these friendships, with the virtuous friendships, that we are to build each other up and not to bring each other down. So to think of that, who do you want in your life that's going to help sharpen you in virtue, how to help you grow in faith? Who are those that you are surrounding yourself with that are going to help bring you closer to Jesus and to follow his example? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also comment down below if there's any other topics you want to see. This is Catholic in the Wild, and have a blessed day.